Councilmember Cosarelli?
Here.
Kennedy?
Present.
Nattari?
Here.
Robel?
Here.
Mayor Hill?
Do I have anything for private? I have just one very short. Yeah.
Make a motion to go private?
I think that's the whole story, but we're cool.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
We're in private.
Just give me 1 minute.
Sure.
Joe Morrow, hold on, we're just getting ready to start. Thank you.
You ready? Are you ready? Okay. Okay, we're ready.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
Longo? Nattari?
Here.
Robel?
Here.
Strumelberg? Mayor Kimball?
Here. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a presentation tonight for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Marshal Frank Dukakis.
Not close.
Dawson,
Dawson.
on the ramp.
Francis Dawson.
Frankie Chu, Frank.
Frank Dawson. Hey, we're gonna call you Francis.
And the parade, Frank Queen and Morgan Sim. Did I get that right, Morgan?
Yeah, we have the honor of having two of the honorees in the parade actually be from Belleville. So we have resolutions for them. Before we start, I just want to introduce Tom McHenry, who's the president of the Nutley Irish. Tom, can you stand up? When it is and who the honorees are this year.
Okay, the parade's March 4th, starts off at Holy Family Church, goes down Franklin Avenue to Chestnut Street. Starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Grand Marshal's Frank, Deputy Grand Marshal Shane Lafferty. Am I saying the right name? Member of the year is Colleen Nielsen. Parade Queen's Morgan Sim, and we got a firefighter, Michael Budden, Jersey City Captain. And we're very honored to have their presence with this. We go through a lot of names for this. I mean, you know, it's the biggest parade in the state of New Jersey, Nutley. And, you know, we all like to have everybody come out, represent our community. Belleville is part of our community too. Like we said, we got 2 people from Belleville in it. We always include Belleville. Pray for a nice day. And we hope you're there. And we want to thank Councilman Cosarelli for doing this to us, Mayor and the Council for doing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm going to have to excuse myself from the parade this year. I'll be down in Atlantic City watching my grandkids wrestle for the state tournament, so I think you'll give me a pass. Good luck.
All right, so we're going to start with Morgan. Morgan, can you come up over here to the front, please? Morgan Sim has been selected as the parade queen by the Nutley Irish American Association for the 39th St. Patrick's Day Parade to be held on Saturday, March 4th, 2017. Morgan Sim was born and raised in Belleville and is now a senior at the College of St. Elizabeth, where she is majoring in history. Morgan Sim can trace her roots back to County Mayo, I don't know if I said that right, County Down, and also County Down, Mayo, and also County Down before her ancestors emigrated to New Jersey in the 1800s. Morgan Sim is excited and honored to be the 2017 Parade Queen, especially for following in her father's footsteps of being a dignitary, who's also here in the back. Sim. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and Municipal Council of the Township of Belleville extend their congratulations to Morgan Sim for being selected as the 2017 Parade Queen of the St. Patrick's Day Parade. words.
Yes.
Land.
Just say thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you all on Saturday at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Francis, it's your turn. Do I have to use your proper name?
Frank will do.
And how do you want me to say your last name?
Roscommon.
That's what Ray said.
Just say Roscommon, that works.
Okay. I'm just going to say Frank. Whereas Frank has been chosen as Grand Marshal of the 39th Annual St. Patrick's Day Parade to be held on Saturday, March 4th, 2017 in Nutley, New Jersey. And whereas for the past 10 years, Frank has been the second-generation owner of Michael's Roscommon House in Belleville, a business started 35 years ago by his mom, Pam, and late father, Mike. And whereas Frank enjoys his involvement in many charitable and community organizations, most notably the Michael's Roscommon House Foundation in honor of his father, Michael, and the recently created Breast Cancer 5K Walk and Foundation created by his wife, Sheila, who is now a breast cancer survivor, thank God. Whereas Frank is a fourth-generation Irish-American whose roots can be traced back to the County Roscommon before his family immigrated to the United States of America in the early 1900s. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and Municipal Council of the Township of Belleville wish to share in the celebration of this event and do hereby congratulate Frank and wish him every success in his endeavors. Frank, I met your father a couple times, and I'm sure he'd be very happy that you've been able to do so much for this community as well as the rest of us.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You gotta talk.
No, Vinny, don't worry, I'm not going to cry. Just to the council and the mayor, thank you very much for this proclamation. It means a lot coming from a resident of Belleville to be able to be the Grand Marshal of Nutley, New Jersey. Like Tom said, it's the largest parade in the whole state of New Jersey. Hoping for a good day. The weather's getting a little cold, it looks like. The temperature keeps going down every time I look. But it should be a nice day anyway. It looks like sun, and looking forward to seeing everybody out there. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to give anybody the opportunity now who's just here for the presentations. If you want to leave, or you can stay and watch government in action. Look at
My niece. My Gracie.
Approval minutes.
Regular meeting of January 24th.
Make a motion.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo? Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Mayor Kimball?
Quarter manager.
Yes. On Friday, the 24th, we had a sanitary sewer collapse on Davidson. We dug it and replaced 20 feet of 8-inch pipe. We also repaired 6 storm basins, Bridgebrook Commons, Geralman Street, Mill and Montgomery, Geralman and Union, Sanford and Harrison, Ralph and Holmes, and Ralph and Academy. The Silver Lake Firehouse exterior is completed, except for some decorative hardware, which needs to be attached to the overhead door. Next week, we will be advertising for the interior repairs. My understanding is that all of the plans and specifications are in fact completed. We also received bids on February 23rd for road projects. From the DOT, we have Clinton Street and Japan Avenue. From County CDBG program, we have Quinton Street, Beach Street from Graylock to Little, Columbus, Brighton Avenue from Harrison to Sanford, Mertz, and Walnut. We also submitted as part of our 2017 applications to the county for Wilson, Charles, Center, Smith and Union Terrace and Stevens Street. And to the DOT, we applied for Smallwood, Belmore, and Van Houten. We also completed the PO for the flooring, the padding, and the athletic equipment for the Friendly House. We expect to take receipt of those materials by April. We ordered the generators for the Washington Avenue Firehouse, Fire Headquarters, the municipal building, the public safety building, the DPW garage, the DPW repair shop, and the Friendly House. We also reviewed the Newark water contract. Tom Herritz and I did that. He's our water operator, and we'll be meeting with the city of Newark as soon as we can set up that meeting to finalize that. We also have a draft GIS mapping of the water distribution system has been completed, and it's being reviewed, and that's a DEP requirement. That's all I have.
You want to ask Maria, Jonathan?
Councilwoman Burke, do you have anything for the manager? Councilman Longo?
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Ordinance for introduction.
Ordinance number 1 for introduction and ordinance amending ordinance number 3458 entitled an ordinance amending the revised general ordinances of the township of Belleville, sections 3-3.2 and 3.13 recycling and refuse collection.
Move for introduction.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo? Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Mayor Kimball?
I want to make a motion to take ordinance number 1 off the table.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
No.
Longo? Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Mayor Kimball?
Yes. Open.
Make a motion to open up the ordinance for public hearing.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo? Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Mayor Kimball?
Yes. And this ordinance is strictly on the financial arrangements of the project on Terry Street. Strictly financial arrangements.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I understand this financial agreement, the development agreement was flawed, but this is the worst
Strictly the
document.
financial agreement, okay?
Exactly. This document, 48 years, I'm looking at a lot of contracts, a lot of ordinance. This is the most flawed document I've ever seen from any government entity. Let's start off with your ordinance that was published in the paper, which you got from the clerk, says there's a low and moderate income rental apartment. Yet, in the agreement, developer states it's 115 market rate units. Right there is a conflict. If you can't have both, it's either low and moderate or market rate. Many I go through in no particular order. On one that says the total cost of the project is $27,973, including building, site improvement, soft cost, construction loan. Obviously, that's another error. I'm sure that's not only going to cost $27,000. And then there's item J, certification of the taxes presently paid on there. And it's got listed for 2015, 84,580 and 87,549. And then it says, as certified by the Park Ridge tax collector. Now, is that accurate?
We realize that we're typos, they were correct.
They're more than typos.
They were correct.
Well, then you should have re-advertised it, because this was publicized was not what is here. So if all these things were problems, and you correct them, you should have re-advertised for this. The other thing you got to be aware of is that they call them the one-bedroom units, and the one-bedroom units have a big bedroom, and a full bathroom. And then they have what's called an office, a 110 square foot office. To put in perspective, we raised my daughter in an 80 square foot bed, 8 by 10 bedrooms, had 2 dressers, a bed, and a chair. But this so-called office also has a bathroom adjoining to it. This is going to be, which is happening in Essex Park already, another bedroom. The net income, there's one page where he's got all the costs, all the annual rents, and he's got them listed, if you read the ordinance, by apartment, and then he's got the total rents, and he's got all his annual expenses, and he's going to have $1,676,000 net income. So we can certainly pay his fair share of taxes instead of only 25% of what the rest of us are paying. There's another thing here. When the citizen asked about the sale of the owner, Mayor Kimball, at a meeting, you said, we have no control, the owner sold his property. Well, that's not so, because the Ginseng Corporation is the owner of the property, and now we come out and find out in this agreement that he's a partner. He's a 35% partner in this project. So he did not sell his property. He is becoming the developer. After neglecting his property, failure to take care of his property, and then he's getting rewarded by having a tax abatement, which we, the taxpayers, have to subsidize it while he makes almost $2 million profit every year. The annual payment in lieu of taxes is 2 different amounts on 2 different pages. One that says $297,504. Another one that says $285,604. So this is another one that it doesn't jive with what's on there. In addition to the rents, low and moderate income, the smallest apartment is a studio apartment, a mere 600 square foot. The rents, and he's got every rent list for every apartment, is $1,200. That certainly isn't low or moderate income housing, as published in your ordinance that it's supposed to be. So,
I think you're drifting a little bit from the financial agreement, which is what that list is.
this is the financial agreement.
I'm looking at it, I don't see what it's giving all these details. Don't go into the developer's agreement.
This is the developer's
I'm
agreement.
not telling you.
This is the financial agreement. If you read it, these are all the things I'm addressing in the financial agreement,
Okay.
Mayor. So I don't know if you've all read it. If you want to come on this side, I'll show you what I'm reading from. Not the developer's agreement,
Okay.
the financial agreement. So in addition to these high rents, you get a bunch of $2,400, $2,500 a month rent for the apartments, he's short over 100 parking spaces. According to our zoning ordinance, he would need about 280 parking spaces, providing 173. In addition to that, like we had the problem on the over there in Silver Lake on Brighton Avenue, right? He's charging, according to these documents, $50 a month parking fee. What's that going to do? The tenants don't want to pay it? More street parking, which is not available down there. One side of Corbin Street has no parking, the other side is just enough for a couple of the houses that are down there. This is another flaw on there. There's another part in here that says it's 4 stories. Another place it says it's 5 stories. There's also another page, section 7.1, says any gain realized by the entity on the sale of any condominium unit. Now, are these condominium units? They're rental, right? That's another flaw in this here. Then the developer probably wants to make a lot of money because there's another clause, Article 8, in section 1 allows the developer to sell or transfer the project. So he'd be making more money, and we pay the freight on this. The pilot comes out to about $2,486 per unit per year. The developer's own tax attorney in that January 2015 meeting says that the fair market price of taxes should be $4,000 to $4,500 per unit. And now he's only going to pay a little less than $2,500. Services got to be provided. Who's going to pick up the slacks? All of us taxpayers. We're going to pay for this millionaire to make money, and we have to pick up the slack on this here. In addition to that, is our zoning ordinance. It violates every tenet of our zoning ordinance. The area is an industrial zone, according to our own consultant, CME Associates, who made the report. No housing units are allowed in the Side B zone. They're proposing 115 units. And there's a clause in there, in the code, that they can ask the council to use eminent domain. That's contrary to what the article said, that it's a non-condemnation area. That's the project, but there's a clause that he can ask you to do it. For our zoning ordinance, maximum lot coverage 50%, proposed 100%. And that's critical, because I don't know if the owners in the audience tonight, but on Cortlandt Street a few years back, you had a two-family. They made them put the garage down low. That basement was getting flooded with 4 or 5 feet of water because Cortlandt Street floods in heavy rains. And so, right now, it's a gravel lot, the majority of it. It's absorbing water. You pave 100% paving, you're going to have more flooding on Cortlandt Street. Maximum height for our zoning ordinance, 40 feet. Proposed 70 feet. Maximum storage, 3. Proposing 5 stories. Front yard setback, 15 feet, he's proposing 10. Rear yard setback, 15, proposing 10. Now, if any of you are familiar with your own zoning ordinance, right on the front page it says the purpose and the intent of the Belleville zoning ordinance. Number 1, to lessen congestion in the streets. Well, short parking, that's violating our zoning ordinance. To secure from fire, panic, and other dangers. You're jamming this 5-story thing into a 76-foot wide piece of property next to a railroad and in back of the poor residents that have lived there for years. That's definitely a danger. It's not in the best interest of the citizens, which one of the pages says this is in the best interest of Belleville residents. Another violation of zoning ordinance. It also says to provide adequate light and air. You're going 10 feet from these people's property lines, 70 feet high when their homes are anywhere from 20 to 32 feet high. Well, you're creating a condition of blight with this project by blocking out the light and air. Another one in the ordinance, the purpose and intent to prevent overcrowding of lands and buildings. This, if you go with our density, this is about 6 or 7. This is about 6 or 7 times.
I still don't see this as the financial agreement that we're passing tonight, Mr. Franklin.
Yeah, well, I'm bringing up all the things from
Well, this is
financial
the
agreement.
financial agreement I have that was passed on first reading. And nothing is in there, so if you would just stick to the financial agreement, please. I know you're running through everything, the developers.
This is the financial agreement that we
This is the
obtained
financial
from the
agreement
township
right
clerk. No, that's only the cover ordinance advertised. This is the entire financial agreement that you're voting on.
It has, we're trying to give them a tax. It's whether we should give them a tax, a pilot program tonight.
The ordinance that you're talking
The
about,
ordinance
you
passed.
said,
That ordinance passed evidently. That one passed. You had 20 days.
this did not pass. This
the
is
one
what's
that-
on the agenda
This is the one that's on
tonight.
the agenda.
Yes. It's ordinance of the mayor and council approving the tax exemption and financial agreement for 91 Terry Street.
That's essentially a financial agreement for 91 Terry Street.
Right, and 371 Cortlandt Street redevelopment
That's
area.
correct. That's what this is.
Exactly. That's what I'm reading from, Mr. Mayor.
This is the financial
No,
statement.
that's just the cover page. The whole thing, if you said the council
Okay, go
people
ahead.
that have done your job, you should have read the entire thing that you're
I
voting on
probably did
tonight.
100 years times.
You won, you probably
I
won.
did.
You did it? Well, then what are you questioning me? These are in the financial agreement.
Continue.
And there's a million flaws in this financial agreement. It's not just the 2 pages, the cover that was advertised in the newspaper.
Okay,
And
continue.
it says, according to the advertisement, it says it's available at the clerk's office for the public to review and got. So we opened it, we got a copy of it to Ms. Kavanaugh's office.
Okay.
And so this is the whole thing. I hope you understand that, because if you don't understand it, you're not qualified to vote on this tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Finley.
This is extremely detrimental to the township of Belleville. Not only the residents that live and are going to be really abused by this here, but this is, the entire town is going to pay for this bad agreement. And you've got to stop these financial agreements. The other thing in regarding these apartments and all, this just came to our attention, it's in the paper this week. Now, you may have said, and others have said, Essex Park, no children, you know,
I didn't say no children.
very few, whatever you call it. I think this gentleman here is a Commissioner Nutley, this was just in the Nutley Sun. Cambridge Heights, which was advertised as empty nester with no children. In the last couple of years, the children from Cambridge Heights has gone from 73 to 163 students. The Stenner Street project, which some of you have said you like to mimic over there, it's only 5 years old, they went from 10 students to 41 in 3 years. All right? The multifamily homes, complexes, number of students went from 896 to 1,129 in just a couple of years. This was just in the Nutley Sun. And the residents in Nutley have been going to me, stop these apartments, it's destroying the town. And I'll tell you how it's destroying the town. Nutley was nice, and some people, oh, Nutley's better than Belleville, Nutley's better than Belleville. Well, guess what just happened? Nutley this year just became an urban A town. So all this development hasn't made this a great town, it's downgraded this town. Because you know we're an urban A town, we've been here because of our low income and because of our congestion and over-density, all right? So now Nutley joining this. For the first time, Nutley, that's disgusting. The people of Nutley are up in arms.
Okay, Mr. Finley, let's talk about Belleville.
We can't. No, look, I'm talking to you 5, and the 2 council people who didn't have the courage to come here and face the public, I hope you can hear me. I'm begging you, on behalf of all the residents of Belleville and our neighboring community, because these pilots, as stated by Matthew Boxer, the former state controller, not only affect the taxpayers of Belleville, the town where they're given, it affects the surrounding town and all county taxpayers, because it just depresses the assessments, and the county has, although they get 5%. And lastly, I think it's lastly, the extreme detrimental effects it has on our school system. The school gets no money from this. The municipal government gets 95% of this 25% that they're not even paying the full taxes, and then the county gets 5%. The school gets nothing, and that was just published, it's another town too, but now we have the documents about our neighbors, nothing. All these children in the school, 173 children from Cambridge Heights. We're told, oh, then look, empty nesters, you know, these people are retired, just want to live nice in the enclave there, and no children in the school system. So, I'm asking you to be responsible. I thank Mr. Kennedy, and I thank Mr. Natari for voting no. The only thing I will ask you is, before this vote, if the two of you and Councilwoman Burke and Councilwoman Natari, if you'd be a little more vocal on behalf of your ward constituents and all the people in the township of Belleville. And I beg you to please vote no on this ill-conceived and maybe corrupt project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Across 95 Bell Street. What is the actual financial benefit, since you're voting on it, and I'm sure you're going to vote on it, what is the actual financial benefit for the taxpayers out of this deal?
Kevin, will you use it? Sure.
Besides, what is it, $2,400 we're going to pay per unit?
What's that?
I said besides, what are they going to pay? Just $2,400 per unit, that's our benefit?
No, $2,590 per unit is the calculation that I came up with based upon the pilot agreement that's been submitted by us. Okay? I reviewed the project located at 91 Terry Street. Contains 150 units, 115 units in total, 4 studio apartments, 71 bedroom apartments, and 41 two-bedroom apartments, out of which 11 of the units will be designated covered. After my careful review of the proposed pilot agreement, it's my professional opinion that the pilot will provide significant financial benefit to the municipality. In my review, I compared the potential of conventional tax structure against the pilot offer, and have determined that the township would net approximately $75,000 more per year based upon the pilot agreement when compared to a conventional tax structure. I estimate that the typical tax will be $2,590 per unit. Okay? Now remember, it's the developer's requirement to provide audited financials to the municipality. Okay? So if they collect more in rent, and as they do collect more in rent annually, the benefit to the municipality will be continuously higher. Now, Mr. Frantantoni had stated that the school board is not going to get anything from this project, but that's not true, because there will be a land tax on this project, and the land tax generated is approximately $62,000, out of which the county and the school board would get 50% of that money.
Out of $62,000, that's all the school board is going to get?
I'm sorry?
Is that all the school board is going to get? Half of that. That, I mean, that's like 4 kids. All right, let me ask you a question. Talk about finding. If those were condos, what kind of taxes would you get for the same unit?
They're not
Double the amount?
They're not condos.
I said if they were.
If they were, I'd have to do a whole different analysis.
Probably better off with condos if that's the case. Everybody gets their fair share. The Board of Education will get their share, and the township. But right now, again, I brought it up, and I think Mr. Frantantoni touched on it. The concern here is, the bottom line is the town is going to take whatever 80% of the money, 85% of the money on the pilot program. But again, how many, and I didn't even know about that article till just now, but it's going to affect our educational system. Who's going to pay for that? I just want to know, because as I said to you at the last meeting, if you want to be good to the developer, that's fine. But you know what? Make a deal. Every child that goes into that, you're going to pay for their education on top of that. That's a fair deal.
That would be on council's discretion.
I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean,
Talk about the financial.
I think that's the best thing to do. That's my opinion. And you know what? I want a tax break on my taxes too. Why can't I get one? No answer?
Turn their house into apartments.
You know, I'd like to get a tax break too. You know, maybe you can afford the taxes, but there's a lot of people in this town that can't afford it. And you know, the #1 reason for foreclosures is called property taxes raised by the governing bodies. Remember, every house, every person that gets thrown out, you're responsible.
something about the last speaker. Mrs. Mario Jerome. I'd like to read an article from a book written by the Star Ledger.
Don't deviate away from what we're talking about.
I can do what I want.
It's his meeting, Mario. And you gotta be quiet.
I
It's
can
his
tell the
meeting.
public more
One
things.
particular
It's his meeting, Mario.
according to Salem Dweck, an FBI handler of Mario Drones. The former mayor and council of Belleville, a blue-collar Essex town of North Quarter, wanted to get Dweck in with the elected officials on surveillance tape. But Drones just couldn't get them on the same page of a Bailey botched meeting at Town Hall. Now, this is the fellow that brought.
Yeah.
Salem Dweck. I'll say what I want. Okay, I'll say what I want. I don't have to talk about the financial agreement now.
We're on the
This is
ordinance. The financial
Solomon Dweck
agreement.
was
You
the
can do whatever you
rabbi
want,
that
Mario. You're on
brought,
there, just like you are. Where? You should until you got voted
that
out.
used to come, that used to try to get corrupt officials in. This past mayor brought him in to try to do something. Now, I wonder why, I just wonder why the FBI wired him. The law enforcement, I know that you don't get wired unless you did something wrong. So I'm just wondering what our good friend here, Mario Droz, who wants to talk about other people, did wrong, that he had to cooperate with the FBI.
I'm getting a recording of this.
Mrs. Frantantoni.
Phyllis Frantantoni, Mount Prospect Avenue. This is the financial agreement you're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay, the only thing, I want to know how the firefighters are going to fight a fire on that place.
Financial agreement.
Well, that's a financial thing, I mean, why
Financial.
didn't you speak on that? Well, how can a firefighter fight that?
You know, it's not the financial, but I'm going to let them answer it for you.
Okay. How are they going to get a truck in there?
Mayor, I'm kind of catching up on this project, and I know it's a project that has already been moving along. I want to address our department, its capabilities, what we are now, what we can be. You know, this building, or this project, is a type of project that's going on all over the place. In every town, across the state and this country. I believe, and as the chief of this department for over 20 years, that we have some of the most capable and adaptable firefighters around. You have all been part of our development, our growth, and our activity over many years. And I think we can all be proud of what our firefighters are capable of doing. This project is another project that we have no control over, and we're not interested in having control over it. But we understand that things happen in towns that require us to adapt our capabilities, our tactics, to constantly improve. We look at technology as having made us better firefighters than we were 50 years ago. We're not standing in the way of progression. We are embracing it, and we're using it to our advantage and to our development and capabilities. Our job from the fire department is to speak on facts that we can present to the governing body that will help them better understand maybe some of the technical things that are being provided here within this building, and the merits and the detriments of those things also. There seems to be a lot of concern about access to this complex, and I think from our perspective, from any perspective, it does present certain challenges. What does that mean? What can we do about it? Well, there's a number of things that we can do about it. And we can certainly act responsibly with a bias towards public safety and firefighter safety. We can consider the lessons that were learned, and we can read about them, they're out there, about fires that have taken place in similarly constructed buildings. Lessons learned on every fire. That's how we got to where we are. Not from running away from problems, but dealing with problems as they are facing us. With this project, we want to consider some of the enhanced fire protection recommendations being discussed by the fire and construction code industry. We also want to spend considerable time developing appropriate response plans and ensuring that our emergency responders, our firefighters, are well prepared. Mayor, if you want to discuss some of the more detailed items,
Chief, I really don't want to go into it now.
it's up to you. We're prepared to discuss some
Do
of
you
those things if you
feel,
want.
you feel we could handle this project?
Again, if we consider, as I spoke to, the enhanced fire protection system, the better training,
If
all
we
of
have to go
those
into further
things,
details later, we will.
We'll do
Absolutely.
it with the.
yes.
Thank
We
you.
would feel comfortable working
That's
with
site plan.
those.
Thank you.
Site plan.
Can I say anything about firemen? They're great, and they can fight a fire very good. I'm just concerned about the people that will be living in the building if there is a fire, if a fire truck couldn't get there. One life lost is one too many. And there's one other thing that I'd like to bring up about this project. If you remember Essex Park with the drainage from there, now they're going to cover all the land up there, down on Portland Street and Terry Street. Do you remember when Tom Harrods had to go in there? Because all the residents' basements were flooding on the streets in the back, on Celia Terrace and Riverdale. You remember he had to go there and he had to run some piping so that they wouldn't get any flooding down in their basement? And I think that Mr. Rovell should know that because it's in his...
Riverdale's had
In his-
had sump pumps there long before
But
that.
it
That
was
the
worse
park was.
there after they put up the apartments.
With the problem, can I speak for a second? The problem ended up being at the base of Continental there where the two sewers were, we needed a bigger sewer line. In fact, Tom put it in down there, and it seems to have alleviated some of that problem. The whole thing is, like you guys said, is that we gotta continue to clean it out. If we don't clean it out, it backs up.
Other streets, Marion Court and every place else, they're still flooding from it. So I just wish that you would reconsider this project because it's going to cause more flooding down in the valley. I have a lot of friends that live down there. They get flooded, and without having enough land for the water to get soaked in, they're going to have more flooding in their basements.
Thank you. Miss?
Diane Rothwell, 403 Cortlandt Street. In regards to the financial agreement with the developer, I'm bewildered as to why you would even dance this dance in regards to allowing a pilot program and a tax abatement. When currently in our town, the average residential property values are below $250,000, and that is below state average. Belleville residents Belleville receives nearly 50% of its taxes collected, and that's more than what the county and state receives of the taxes paid. The average household income in Belleville is $56,000, which is below state average. The poverty in Belleville has increased to 11%, which is just below the state rate of 14%. The foreclosure rate in Belleville has rose within the state 27%, and home sales in Belleville is at an all-time high, besides the foreclosure rate of 1,000 plus homes. To give this development and this project any further attention, when my taxes in the years that I've owned my property has gone up an average of 3%. So when I first purchased the home, my taxes were just a little over $7,000 and currently paying close to $14,000. Have doubled in the 10 years I've owned my home. This is ridiculous. Where is the tax break for the people that work hard in this town, where mothers and fathers are putting in hours where they're unable to spend the time with their children.
Please, Mrs. Rothwich.
Also,
I understand
in
what you mean.
regards
Go
to
to
the
the,
area,
Finance agreement, please.
with the porous, the police chief got up and spoke several years ago. There was a fire in that warehouse. The fire ended up being a multi-alarm fire where other towns had to come in because there was no access through the homes. So maybe in the agreement with the eminent domain, you're going to go right through our homes and gain the access that way. I was there. I had firemen going through my backyard, through the driveway, to help to try and put this fire out. Not only my home, but the other homes that were on the block also. In regards to this whole plan and development is faltered. Besides the lack of parking, where are they going to park? In Kmart? Where are they going to park on Cortlandt Street? Cortlandt Street only has one-sided parking, and that's on the west side. The flooding. For several years, I've been coming to the council asking and aiding my neighbor across the street who had a home with a two-car garage that was pitched down. It took me 2 years to help fight with them to alleviate that problem. Because the 30 years I've been living there, that street has flooded 2-3 times a year. And that's in the springtime and that's in the fall time during hurricane and raining seasons. Also during the course of this past couple of years, I've been coming in regards to the traffic. And it took me several months to a year to get a stop sign to make it a 4-way stop. I questioned in regards to the stop on Geralman and Cortlandt Street. Because the 30 years I've been there, there's been an average between 3 to 5 car accidents. So 115 or 150 apartments, because through eminent domain, in taking my home and the other 8 homes on that block, will bring up the total to 150 that was originally proposed. What are you going to do with the traffic then? Because when I came in and I spoke with the council, well, there's nothing we can do. We can't think about cutting the trees down. We can't think about putting a stop sign there. We can't think about putting a traffic sign there. So now I ask you, I thank Councilman Kennedy. I thank Councilman Natari. And originally I thanked Councilwoman Burke for voting no on this. And I ask that she change her mind and not give in to the pressure of quid pro quo, of things that she wants to move forward in her ward through the pressure of the other councilmen, because if she takes a stand and her residents see that she takes it, the residents in this town will stand behind everyone. Stand behind her, stand behind Councilman Kennedy, and continue. So I ask that you not, this is faltered, a faltered plan. You said you want to keep it into Belleville. Well, Mayor Kimball, you brought up Bloomfield and all the other areas that are developing residential properties.
That's correct.
It's not correct, because the residents in each of those towns are fighting against it also. Their property values are dropping, their school systems are failing, and their property taxes are going up. We are going to end up the same way.
Answer me one question. Are they developing in those towns?
Not without recourse.
Are they developing in those towns?
Irresponsibly, yes, they are. Irresponsibly, yes, they are.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Madley, I know you're anxious to get up, so.
I am. Jeff Mattingly, 56 Walnut. I was trying to wait. Mayor, this financial agreement is flawed from one end to the other, as Mr. Frantantoni pointed out. But more importantly, it's going to enable development that we don't need in an area that's incredibly unlikely, industrial property that is now going to be basically five stories tall, 70 some odd feet, whatever, that I don't believe for a moment, all due respect, Chief, that our firefighters that we love in Belleville They're not going to be able to fight a fire there over the backs of houses unless they're taken by eminent domain, and then creating the requirement to have apparatus that could reach a fire of that magnitude in that distance. It's not, it's not accessible through 3/4 of the development when looking at the plan. So the thing's going to burn and either kill people or firemen or both.
Have you ever been to a fire scene? It's strictly not in front of the one house. They do bring hoses through other yards, that's correct.
Yeah, you got to get the water to the fire though, Mayor. How do you get over the back of a 32-foot
That was over
house
on,
that's 100
and they had
feet deep?
hoses all over the place.
Well, and it burned, Avalon burned nearby just recently. Avalon is the name of the developer.
Developer, right.
Yeah, and it burned just recently, and even fire extinguishing systems are 20% ineffective. They don't always work. So, and when you have breezeways through the eaves of roofs like are intended in there, they spread rapidly. At that fire, it was I think it was 2 blocks away or a block away. It was alarm 3 the moment they got there, just around the corner. People are going to die for no good reason. We don't need that, and enabling this developer to attain that funding from the public is going to enable that possibility. Now imagine if we okay this for no reason, because it's not necessary, it's industrial property paying its taxes. Why would we even think about it? Somebody want to turn... Oh yeah, maybe that would be a good idea, seeing as how they're not here. But at any rate, I mean, this is a travesty. It's going to raise everybody's taxes. We have to pick up the 3/4 that they won't pay because you're willing to grant them. And like the other towns, that is a minority potentially of just a simple majority of the council that's enabling all this development that are driving these taxes out the roof, putting people out of their homes. Retired people that can no longer afford to live in their properties because of where their taxes have gone in relatively extremely short period of time. Well, we don't have room for more kids, whether they're paid for or not. We'll have to build schools. We're already facing that. We're at saturation at all grade levels. I mean, we don't need to go here. Why would you think to even consider that, council? So, I mean, I'm sorry, but this is not a win-win for Belleville. This is a lose-lose. And the fact of the matter is, it's strictly voluntary to give away tax abatements to a developer who has no interest in Belleville other than to extract our money. So, I mean, please, there's how many things are here? I mean, the zoning, you just shot the whole town zoning for quality of life. Complete coverage, pave over everything in a flood zone that is going to run off into other people's properties. You know, whether or not that you might think that there's ways to fight this, this is substandard construction that was supposed to be remedied by the legislature, who have dropped it. And why? Because the League of Municipalities, looking at their wallets, say that we need this ability to build this dangerous housing. And I know more than a few firemen who don't like it. And I don't mean just from Belleville, all over the place. It's bad construction, dangerous to them and the people who live there. It's just a bad idea. I'm sorry, but to 25–30% of the taxes that they're going to pay, be able to make money on the developer over $1 million a year. I mean, why do we have to pick that up? That gets distributed over the remaining tax base. I mean, we're going to have to pay for it. They're going to use services. They're going to have kids. It's a rental. These are 2 bedrooms and up, and the ability to create a 1-bedroom into a 2-bedroom. Am I disturbing you, Councilman? I'm sorry, but, well, you don't seem to be very interested in what I have to say. But you're going to vote for it. Yes, sorry. Yes, you are.
Jeff,
I'm sorry, man. This is personal. This is our town. These are our taxes, our kids, our schools, our firemen. There's no requirement to go here. These houses and building are paid. The taxes are paid. And I'm sorry, Mr. Esposito, but you're suggesting that isn't the land being taxed now for the the township, when they tax it, the school gets their portion. Is that going to change?
No,
So they're still getting it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna get less. We're gonna get burdened with the requirement of educating kids at $14,000 a year
The land
plus.
tax value will increase as a result of the change in use.
Well, that's interesting, because in the agreement, it suggests that there's $4,025,000 to purchase the land. It's 2 acres. Where do we have an acre for $2 million in Belleville? Well,
Across
that's
the street.
across the street?
Across the street.
Where's that?
$5 million worth of Walgreens waste.
What, just for the property?
$5 million for the Walgreens site across the street from here, 2 acres.
Kitty will be very happy to hear that.
Well, you won't sell anyhow.
I'm sorry?
Nothing.
Oh, you're gonna hold that one, okay. The idea, though, that $4,025,000 for the purchase of 2 acres of industrial land is not what's going on in the valley. I can assure you of that. And where does that figure into the pilot agreement that he will benefit from, meaning the developer piece? Can you tell me that? Can a professional tell me that?
Where does that figure into the pilot agreement?
Yeah, it's $4 million, $25,000, $4,025,000 for the purchase of the land, is what it says, land purchase. Is that going to impact us further in terms of what we're going to have to shell out for the total cost of near $28 million, of which $4 million is for 2 acres of industrial land up against the railroad tracks?
Well, you're certainly not going to subsidize his land purchase, if that's what you're trying to get at.
That's not part of the agreement, of the financial agreement?
No, there aren't any municipal dollars going into the purchase of land, that's all private development.
No, I understand that, but in the end, is that not the pilot based on the total cost of the project?
Not necessarily, the pilot will be based upon the 12% payment to the municipality on the revenues.
Yeah, but it's still on the tax basis, it's still going to be 25% of what we will pay, what we are paying for similar footage. Everybody else here is paying that kind of money for their homes or properties, and they're going to pay 25% of it.
We have apartment complexes throughout the municipality, not new complexes, but older complexes, that currently pay approximately $2,500 to $2,700 annually per unit. So you can't compare what a single-family home pays to what an apartment pays. There's a distinct difference between the two. Apartment space doesn't own as much land. It doesn't have as much square footage.
But it has a lot more people who are going to use water and sewer fees that we pay. The budget pointed to large increases in sewer fees, services.
I can't dispute the people issue.
It's part of the finances. I'm sorry, it is.
Stretch it a little bit.
I'm sorry?
Nothing.
Gee, Mayor. I'm sorry, there's no reason to do this and exacerbate all the quality of life issues that we're facing now, and the cost of building schools, expanding them, hiring additional teachers, administrators, maybe have to build a school. That's what these towns are facing, right, Mr. Tucci? I'm sorry, but that is what you're facing. And so this is exactly where we're at. We can't afford it. Too many people are losing their homes at this point. Foreclosures are happening. Their homes are being taken away. From who? People who make $56,000 a year annually who live in Belleville? That seems incredibly heartless. I hope you're listening on the telephone. It really is.
Okay, Jeff, come on.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but people need to have the chutzpah to come up and face the people.
Finish up, Jeff.
That's enough. I really am. I had enough.
Okay.
I lost faith. Faith.
One more.
Second.
Sir, okay.
With all due...
I'm going to let you talk. Go ahead.
Oh, Robert Schmidt, 417 Cortlandt Street, right in the center of the action. With all due respect and admiration for our fire department, having lived down there a long time and familiar with the area, I would be interested to see, perhaps there can be such a plan that the fire department can devise to be able to...
So the financial agreement we're talking about, you want to talk
Real
about
quick.
our public
I don't think they could be able to fight a fire with the railroad
It's
tracks.
not part of the financial.
The other, just a quick comment.
Testimony on it.
Sir, I'll let you talk on public participation.
Right, real quick. I admire the fact that you last week said that you as a mayor and the council want to do things to serve the community, but I think you have to do the right things, and I feel like what you're doing is just to look like a man of action. Can I please?
You can talk in public participation.
That's
You can talk in public participation.
You're trying to.
Jeff, he's not talking on the financial station.
I'm done, 2 seconds.
No, he's not.
This isn't public.
I'll let you talk about on.
Public participation.
I'm not gonna go on. I'm just saying, it appears to me that you just want to look like a man of action rather than a man of sense.
All I can tell you.
Clerk will roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
No, it's not, of course not.
Longo? Nattari?
No.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Traitor.
Yes.
You must be getting something.
I don't even hear, I didn't hear.
Pass.
Passed.
Make a motion, open up public participation.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo? Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Mayor Kimball?
Yes. Straight Tony.
Phyllis Frantantoni, now Prospect Avenue. I hope you're happy that you approved this. I've seen this, my grandmother lived down in the first ward in New York, and they built all those projects, all those apartments. And then years later, when they were promised so much, went down there with my kids and watched them implode them, because they wound up being Section 8, where people were living there and then they couldn't afford to pay the rents there. So I hope you're happy with what you did, because that's what's going to happen in Belleville. You just can make this the new North.
Thank you. Straight Tony, I know you. You want to speak?
Yeah. You people have no conscience. And you know what happens is that, I mean, you approve the pilot of only about $1,500 for the Soho project. Alma, I think, was the developer there. And then you, Mayor, did $1,000 donation from Alma. So, you know, you can talk about Solomon's Wreck and all that, and then when you get all
I
these...
reported it.
Again, so that's it. So I can do this stuff, I can take a payoff from the developer, as long as I report it, then it's okay, you know? And then Mr. Cosarelli there gets an $8,200 donation from one political PAC from Jefferson Street in Newark. What did you promise them for $8,000? Well, how do you justify an $8,200 donation from one end? You know, this is what public...
We don't have to answer, you got 5 minutes.
All right, well, I'm bringing up the fact that you got there. You got another councilman, $2,600 donation from somebody that has nothing to do with Belleville. What's going on here? Pay to play? Is that what's going on here? Because it's certainly obvious with these huge thousands of dollar donations. And then all these developers are walking away. Let me see that developer, this so-called luxury apartment, but let him see me bring his family to live in that congested 70-foot piece of property over there. And in all due respect to the fire chief too. This is the same thing that happened up at Essex Park. The initial fire chief said it was a bad project up there. And when he got a little flack, a week later come another, oh, we think we can handle it. You know, so I'm tired of this stuff. And I respect Mr. Esposito too. But he's flawed. He just make up a
Everybody's
report.
wrong but you. Everybody's wrong but you. I know that.
Mr. Mayor, all your actions, I asked you, what happened to, you right now got on the agenda to ask the planning board another area that needs redevelopment. 78 to 102 Washington Avenue.
You were against that originally, wasn't you?
No, I wasn't. No. I was against not enough parking, not against the project. Because, Mr. Mayor, 38 years ago, if you remember Ed Torty,
38 years ago.
you don't remember Ed Torty? My friend?
38 years ago.
Yeah, do you remember Ed Torty? Ed Torty and I,
Ed Torty, yes.
right, Ed Torty and I wrote a letter to the planning board that we supported mixed use on Washington Avenue. Retail on the first floor, but only 2 stories on the second floor. And we gave her reasons for that. Because, number one, the residents above will patronize the stores. Number two, when the stores close at 6 o'clock, it won't be a ghost town. You'll have people living there. But that was in moderation. I'm for that kind of development. But not 70 feet tall in people's backyards, jammed in between the railroad tracks. Now, this development you got on the agenda tonight, I don't understand you folks. They were approved. They were approved for 80 units on there, with parking and with, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 square feet of retail space. Fine. They weren't built. Now, why are, I'm going to ask you a question and I probably will answer too. Why are you going to declare that an area needs redevelopment? That block goes from William Street, you're a police chief, I think you know the geography, to Cleveland Street, correct? Well, one half of the block, which was Bigelow Motors, was privately developed. You have Family Dollar, you have the chicken place, you have the laundromat, and the other store, I think it's a furniture store, whatever there. They didn't get no tax abatement. Why is this guy going to get on this half of the lot? There's no criteria for area redevelopment. It's an empty lot. It's an empty lot. You don't have to displace anybody. It's not lacking in light, air, or density. It was already approved by the zoning board. And then he come back for 8 stories, and then he come back about a year and a half ago. They still wants 80 units, but only 6 stories high, which is nice. We don't need that kind of height on there, right? So why would you even consider calling area redevelopment? So a possible answer would be, because this guy don't want to pay the proper taxes either. So you need to call an area needed redevelopment in order to give this guy a pilot. So we, the taxpayers, can subsidize this guy. And in fact, one of the partners in the development got so aggravated with this town, he packed up and moved out of town and sold his interest in that property. So, I mean, so much for how good this
I wonder if he was trying to flip that property.
Town.
Originally.
Well,
Made a lot of money.
you know, this is wrong. So that thing on the agenda, that's another thing that should not be proved tonight. Because all you're doing, and it's looking for more campaign contributions, to give that guy another tax abatement.
Okay.
Pilots of tax abatements, financial agreements. And then, I understood tax abatements, and I understood the word pilots. But a few years back, I was unfamiliar with the word financial agreement. So, going through some of my paperwork the other night on phone too, and I found out that you guys gave a pilot to the age 55 characters too. That night I didn't speak to it because on the agenda was to approve a financial agreement. Because you subdivided and illegally gave land that was dedicated land to that developer, I thought it was the financial agreement just because he was paying for some of the land that we gave to him. So I didn't speak to it. But come to find out now with the new knowledge I have, so you gave that guy tax abatement too. All these guys are getting rich on the back of the poor working people of the town, which you got no consideration for. And it's nice to have a government pension.
And they're developing vacant land that's not getting the full value of the assessed.
Mr. Mayor, my 2 sons live in Bloomfield. The tax have gone through the roof with all development. My one son is thinking himself because he can't afford $11,000 from $6,800. All right? In a few 7 years that he bought the house. All right? Go look at right across the street on Glenwood Avenue from the train station, which is ideal. We're not a transit community because we don't have a train nearby. Right across the street.
There's a track that runs through it.
Right, that's a single lane track, Mr. Mayor. I mean,
It could be brought down to a.
Born and raised in
Brought
there.
down to our train station.
New Jersey Transit has a 2020 program. It was in 1995. I was the only one who went to that public hearing on Gateway and North. By the year 2020, they were going to have 45, 50 light transit things like we have in Silver Lake, all interconnected. You travel all over. They built 4 or 5 in Metuchen, Belleville, 4 or 5, and they're bankrupt. New Jersey Transit. That's never going to come to fruition. Never gonna come to fruition. And when I asked at that public hearing, is our line here? The answer was no. And then they sent me a transcript of that meeting, because I was the only one there. It was a short transcript, right? And the reason is, it's a single line. It's a single track. So what do you do? During the day, you turn the train around. You can't do it. But that's not the fact. Right across the street from the train station, Bloomfield, which is ideal, you walk on the house, cross the street, then on train New York. They still haven't fully rented those. And those will go, oh, they're going to be a sellout. They're building hundreds, not thousands, right by the parkway there. Go up Belleville and look at them.
I saw.
I just did a job 3 weeks on East Elmira. You know where East Elmira is? It's the back of those projects. The people over there are looking at this monster in back of there. That's a dead-end street right in back of the project. You have to go in Broad Street to James Street and then into the back to that dead-end street there. The people of Bloomfield are not getting any benefit. The taxes are going through the roof. The roads are congested. And again, try to come out. Tomorrow morning, I go to my laundry at 7:30. Come over to my house. Try to get out into Belleville Avenue. Try to get out into Belleville Avenue at any time during the day, but specifically between 7:30 and 10. And at night, tonight I made a U-turn. You remember where Luis Cordasco lived? I couldn't get out to Belleville Avenue. I had to back up into the driveway and go around. This is congested. Our geography, which you should know, there's only 2 ways to get through Belleville. Greylock Park, Geralman Street, and Belleville Avenue. So you keep doing the combination, not only Belleville, but the other communities that all this development, nobody's widening the streets. Belleville Avenue is a one-lane road. One lane, all this traffic on there. So you're not doing anything. So tonight, this other resolution for development should not happen. And then in regards to this, the Nutley, this is just in the Nutley paper, all this thing, it's the folks at Nutley School expansion proposal has switched from construction to traffic, parking, and the influx of students to multi-family dwellings. They're getting killed in Nutley, the same way as we are here.
Thank you, Ben.
Please, do not vote for another tax abatement.
Carmela Fleischman, 132 Franklin Street, Belleville. First of all, I want to commend the police department. We had an accident. Our car was parked on Franklin. The woman hit the car. She claimed she was on her speaker, but we knew she was texting. The way she killed our car, she was texting. Police caught her right away. Appreciate that greatly. I've left a message for Deputy Chief Corvo. I know we keep missing each other, playing phone tag. I really do appreciate, my husband and I really do appreciate the, efficiency of the Belleville Police Department, which, really helped us out. On that note, with the development of this building down on Cortlandt, it's insane that you guys passed this. I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound rude or disrespectful, but have you lost your minds? In all seriousness, we're at a point that we can't have enough fire department to take care of what we need now. It's been 3 years since Silver Lake, 3 to 4 years since Silver Lake Firehouse is trying to be reopened. And now you're expecting these guys to risk their lives more, and I do not doubt the ability of the fire department. That is not my intention to give that impression, okay? I don't doubt them, but have any of you ever gone to a burning building? My brother's a firefighter in Newark, okay? I pray to God every day that since he survived, okay? You're risking lives. Can I get everyone's attention looking at me, please?
Mrs. Fleischman,
Mr. Revell's not, and the other two.
I'll be honest with you, because I'm looking at the plan
know what?
that the fire department has to deal with it.
Excuse me.
That's why, because I know that these guys are confident enough to give you a good plan.
Let me finish. You were rude and you interrupted us. We're going to be rude and interrupt you. And the cowards listen.
Because I had to remove.
Get it.
Please.
I dare you to. No, listen. All right?
No, you listen, damn it. Hey.
No,
respect, Mayor.
You have absolutely no respect for the people in this
You
town.
don't have any respect for anybody either.
Oh.
I don't have
You can
respect
say
for
whatever you
people.
want. Yeah, yeah.
I don't have respect
Telling us
for
that we
people.
gotta pay attention? That's
Right, we sit there, and listen to you.
I am paying attention to it.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Fleischman.
And to the people who didn't show up tonight, shame on you. Shame on you. You expect us to keep voting for you?
You do what you
Year
wanna
after
do.
year?
You do what you wanna do.
And then you asked me one year at the one meeting, why am I so negative? Why am I so
Because
negative?
you're always negative.
Right, because what else do you leave me choice with? What other choice do you leave me with? 4 years to reopen a firehouse? And you want to risk these guys' lives?
No, we don't wanna
more?
risk anybody's life.
Then why are you building a 70-foot building?
5 stories.
5 stories, whatever. Why? Answer that one simple question. Why? But since none of you have a brain in your head...
See?
Stop.
No, I'm not going to stop. No, excuse me.
Stay there and like ride on it.
Mr. Kennedy, I applaud you. I applaud you for actually saying no, and Councilman O'Toole, I
Oh, sure,
actually
because they
applaud
voted
you.
for it the way you want it.
I
That's the way you, so you applaud
don't,
them.
but it's not just me. It's not just me who wanted it. I can understand if I was the only one who said, oh, we shouldn't do it. How many people? How many people do you have to not listen to?
Tell me how many people will talk tonight about it.
I'd say about 27.
27?
How many people
Like
are going to
a
talk about
1,000
this redevelopment? I see one,
I'd say raise your hands.
two, you know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's
Oh,
one,
I know that.
it doesn't matter if it's 100. What are you guys going to do when people die? No, you can give...
Don't throw that on our shoulders.
Why? You're the council. You're the council.
Because
Why?
when policemen go out on the street every night, they could die. You want to blame us for that?
No, I'm not going to blame you for that.
Oh, what are
I'm
you
going
gonna
to
blame us
blame
for?
you for
For a fireman
building...
that gets hurt?
I'm going to blame you when a firefighter or a police officer dies in this town because they cannot respond, because they're trapped in a building in matchstick construction. That's what I'm going to blame you for. You go talk to their families, if you have the guts to, which I doubt you do.
I got the guts to talk to anybody.
Prove it.
Make a motion.
I apologize for having blurted on and on before. I thought we were in the public participation. Just very quickly, like I was saying, the having lived down on 91 Terry forever and been around that building and the railroad tracks, I think that you do have an obligation. Of course, it's after the fact now since you've already voted, but I think you have an obligation to make totally sure that if a fire did break out, it would be accessible to the fire department. I'm just thinking mainly you have the railroad tracks back there. I'm wondering how they would deal with that, as if they had to get inside. I don't know. I'm just saying, you make sure that you got a plan that's airtight before you approve this. The second is that I admire you and your council as men who are inclined to do the best for your community. That's a noble thing. I don't envy your job at all. I would not want your job. But if you're implementing something that you think is serving your community and it's going to be a bonus, and then I would think that you would see a lot more positive response to you rather than all the negative contributions, the opposition. I would think people would be applauding you and thanking you, but I think that's a litmus test of the fact that this is, even though your intentions may be good, it's not the right thing to do. So, anyway.
Make a motion, post.
Mr. Fleischman.
Before I begin, I want to let you know that my wife brought you a digital timer. So you can actually time for 5 minutes. What's that?
I don't use it.
Well, what I would like to suggest anyway is that if you're going to make announcements after public participation, why don't you amend the usual process to allow additional public comment after you guys have spoken? I think that's fair. Also, I'd like you to consider, and some municipalities do this, is that if a person speaks, they have a balance of time, let's say 2 or 3 minutes, they can donate it to somebody else.
No, we're not doing that.
Okay, that's fine. I'm glad I know where you stand. I actually timed my comments for 5 minutes today, but after the way you spoke to my wife, I'm not sure I'll be able to stick with this, but I'm going to try. Mr. Mayor, at the February 14th meeting, you stated development is taking place in Nutley, Montclair, Patterson, Newark, and Bloomfield, and that's true. However, those cities and towns have one or more things that Belleville does not have. More room per square mile, less population, higher median incomes and property values, better or more strategic modes of transportation, or a stronger commercial presence. Belleville has the 5th highest population density in this county, with 37,000 people living on 3.34 square miles. That's about 10,500 people per square mile. Bloomfield and Montclair have the benefit of having a railroad line run through their towns, attracting high-salary commuters traveling to New York City, Jersey City, or Newark. Cities like Patterson and Newark are due for a comeback after they suffered big losses due to flight to the service following riots, increased crime, and deindustrialization. Such development has had obvious side effects. The schools in Bloomfield, Montclair, and Nutley are filling up, straining facilities, resources, and teachers. There's much more traffic on the roads. Try driving the length of Belleville Avenue or Mill Street between the hours of 7 and 9 a.m. or 5 or 7 p.m. and see how long it takes you. Never mind that. Go up Bloomfield Avenue now. We did it last week and it took us 30 minutes. I work in South Orange. I used to be able to make that trip back and forth within 10 or 15. Now it's close to half an hour. So there's a lot more people now because of these developments. Our town is at full capacity. An affordable housing plan this council accepted last year even describes Belleville as being almost completely developed. The opposition of projects such as the Second River Station 2 years ago, and now this one at Cortland and Terry, are based on those facts. Such large-scale developments are huge bets. You're gambling Belleville's future on whether or not people will rent or buy in those developments, or whether or not they will have children, whether or not they have their own cars or will rely on public transportation. To believe that such will not strain our infrastructure and municipal services stretches beyond imagination and reason. Members of this council have been quoted in the media saying they believe that the Terry Street project will beautify the area. Enhancing the beauty of our town is noble and necessary, but we don't need a new development to do that. There are cheaper and more efficient ways to do so. I am happy to discuss with you or anyone else cost-effective and community-oriented ways to beautify our town. Also, Mr. Mayor, you also stated the council is obligated to do what is right for Belleville. Nobody disagrees with that. However, doing what is right for Belleville does not mean doing something for short-term benefits. Anyone who sits in those seats has an obligation to the best of their ability to ensure Belleville remains sustainable. That means thinking ahead to what we want Belleville to be in 15, 25, or 50 years from now. It means thinking more broadly about how to attract businesses to Belleville. If businesses already come to Belleville, it's time to reflect on why that is. Are business taxes too high? Is parking availability an issue? Are we branding and marketing Belleville the same way that other successful towns are doing? Belleville, and prior to that, Second River, have been at the forefront of economic and demographic changes brought forth throughout our nation's history. In the past, it proved a shining example of how both industry and suburban living can coexist and thrive on each other. There is no reason why we can't do that again. There must be something we can offer or emphasize to bring sustainable businesses and fresh ideas to this town. It will take much hard work, but the alternative is rising taxes and good people and businesses leaving. We could run the risk of our streets and neighborhoods becoming vacant and desolate, reminiscent of Asbury Park in the 70s or 80s. We cannot simply copy what other towns are doing and think by virtue of that it will work. We need to find our way and build on our town's strengths. You may think opposition to residential development is coming from a few boisterous people. Don't deceive yourself by equating a seeming lack of opposition to widespread approval of or agreement with what this council does. Belleville residents are hardworking, dedicated to their families, and have obligations that perhaps prevent them from attending these meetings to speak and listen. Many of them must rely on media outlets, social media, and crusaders such as Lee Dory to be informed. This council should be taking on the responsibility of building an active, engaged, and informed citizenry, but that's another issue for another day. Also, residents may feel that their input is for naught because for years Belleville has had a reputation of having blood sport politics in which various factions fight each other for power and influence, leaving behind the best interests of Belleville and its residents. I am certain that much of what I say sounds critical, and that's by design. A true critic will point out what you're doing wrong in hopes that you will do better in the future. I would not spend as much time and energy as I do attending these meetings and speaking to you if I didn't love and care about this town, which tomorrow my wife and I will be calling our home for 20 years. And that's as long as we can afford the rent, because the taxes keep going up and our rent keeps going up. My purpose in saying all this is for one reason. All of my life, I've had one single consistent expectation. Wherever I choose to live, to work, whatever groups or issues with which I align myself, or for whomever I vote, that they live up to their highest potential and stay true to what they stand for and profess. Belleville has a lot of potential, and we all, as Belleville residents, have a responsibility to work together to fulfill it. You, however, as our elected leaders, have a particularly important responsibility to set an example. I ask you to please stop pursuing residential development as a cure-all, or because everyone else is doing it. It's time for you to begin the hard task of making Belleville affordable, sustainable, and the envy of our neighbors. If the members of this council are not up to that task, you will discover that there are people who are, and they may come after you when your seats are up. Thank you.
Diane Rothwell, Portland Street. Your arrogance is disgusting. You were elected into your positions
Not to take abuse.
by
None of us
the
are ever
residents
gonna take
in this
abuse.
town to represent us and for our well-being. The parents, the families in this town are no longer as they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. The economy in this country is depleting. Both mothers and fathers are working 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day to put food on the table, clothes on their children's backs, and to send them to school. The governing body, to not take into consideration of your residents, is contempt and negligent. And I hope that every voter, registered voter in this town remembers this, and remembers the tickets and the votes that are going on, not for the better of Belleville, not for the better of the taxpayers in this town, but for the better of your own personal interests. And we eliminate you out of this government. And we get a forum that is for the people. There are a lot of good things that go on. Councilman Kennedy, all the support groups that he sponsors. For the betterment of the town, for the betterment of the children in this township. Councilman Natari, the organizations that he's involved in. And to sit there and to dig up different things that are going on, you know what, you should clean up your own backyards. And I don't want to start sitting and nitpicking and bringing things up to light, but it's totally disgusting. The 4 council members that voted for it,
Five.
of the 5, the 4 that voted, 3 of you, your families have been long-standing. I'm confused. Is your vote for this a vengeance? Is it payback?
Yes, no, we
Yes, it is.
We don't want to see the vacant land like Norca.
The vacant land. Well, then you know what? Then Belleville should be doing their responsibility with their employees, and Mr. DiLorenzo should be down there to make sure that the building's brought up to code as every other building. The home that was up on the corner of Mayor and Garden Avenue, torn down because it was neglected. Why isn't this building being summoned and fined and brought up to code? Because if any resident that was supposed to, that allowed their property to get like this, they would be fined. It's ridiculous. The building's not vacant. There's businesses within that building. And to sit and turn around and bring up residential properties, no, you know what, business into town that'll help grow the economy. ShopRite moved into Belleville to bring up the economy. The motorcycle mall across the street to bring it up economy. Towns, cities like
Yeah, well,
Camden,
maybe they saw that the government was doing a good job, that's why they stayed.
bring more in to help alleviate and help the people.
We are trying, yes. Yes.
Trying. You know what? I don't even think a magician could fit 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag at what all of you are trying to do.
Make a motion, close the public hearing.
Second.
I got one question. There we go. Sorry, I'm new to this, so you gotta excuse me if I'm not following proper
Yeah, give me
procedures.
name and address.
Mike Raheem, Wilson Place. I feel like sometimes we are the forgotten street in Belleville. I feel that because we're on the south side, we're close to Newark, we're kind of not really giving much.
I know where it's at.
I'm sorry?
I know where it's at.
You know where it's at, okay. Well, I guess you probably know Mr. Dunn, who happens to be, to me, one of the founding fathers of Belleville. Mr. Dunn and all of his family have gone through the fire department or police department. Right. Well, Mr. Dunn asked me to come down here because of 20 years of complaining to him. He said, Mike, at this point, I don't have much influence in the town council. And many of the problems we're facing here today, and some of our neighbors are here to attest to that, is that the road hasn't been resurfaced based upon Mr. Dunn's memory for 40 years. The curves have been broken so badly that the road now goes to the sidewalk. On that street, there are always illegal activities going on. There's a lack of police presence. I'll get to the police one second. I also noticed that there are so many people there that live on Union Ave that comes and park on Wilson Place, which is fine, but it sometimes is obstruct our entrance to the driveway. We also noticed that when it comes time for snow removal, we're the stepchild, so to speak. And then street cleaning, it is probably the worst ever. I mean, there are days I set up my video camera to see when the guy comes to clean the street, never shows up. You know, I don't know why this happens, but like everyone in this room, my taxes go up, and I'm not going to come up here and cry high taxes and whatnot because it's not fair. But there are many places in Belleville section that looks like a mansion compared to what we have. Look so pristine, and we feel left out. So I'm asking the council, and Mr. DiLorenzo, I'm sorry if that's...
That's more up to you.
Okay, sorry, like I said, I'm new at this, so please, right? I hope one day that we all have a first-name relationship, because I do plan on attending this. I think this is very informative. I like it. I like the spirit. I like the spirits of my residents. I'm not my resident, but my neighbors. And I love this. This is what democracy is all about. And I appreciate this. And I appreciate you giving us a chance to voice our opinion, and we giving you a chance to voice your opinion also. And you're doing, I'm hoping that you're doing the best interest of Belleville also. The police department, a couple of weeks ago, there was an accident right at the intersection of Union and Wilson Place. The visibility is obstructed left, right, and center, literally center. You cannot come out to Wilson Place and make a left turn without saying grace or saying a prayer. Because you know what? There's a chance, there's a 5 in 10 chance you'll get hit. Because the cars are coming at 25 miles an hour, SUVs are parked in the yellow area, we can't see, we're going up like this, and then all of a sudden, whoop, something just flies by. It's dangerous. It's just a matter of time before someone gets really hurt. Like I said, a couple of weeks ago, there was a motorcycle accident right there. A couple of the police officers, we stopped and we spoke to them and said, listen, this town has grown too much. We don't have the manpower in this town to do everything and to police everyone. There are too many people in this town. This town is just growing too much out of control. And it's the only solution is to have more police officers. And that means higher property taxes, obviously. And I don't want that. I'm sorry. Be careful. I'm sorry. I'm not making any accusations. But those are my concerns. So my question is to you, how soon can we have these issues and problems rectified so we don't have these issues? We need a little more police presence. In 1990, when I moved onto that block, and I'm pretty old, 1990, there were police presence. We used to come out. We used to go to the hot dog stand on Bloomfield Ave. And when we drove in, there usually be a cop. Just follow us, make sure that we're coming into the town to where we at. I don't see police presence anymore unless there's an emergency. And I know you don't have the resources to hire more, but you know,
It's not that, sorry. You know at times it's changing. You read the papers every day with all the crime and, I mean, they're busy, and they do a good job. They do a good job.
I just would like to see more enforcement, especially at the corner of Wilson and Union Ave, because people park in the yellow zone and...
The town manager.
Okay. All right, so how soon can we expect to see progress? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we'll inform them tomorrow, and as far as Wilson Place is concerned...
Oh, no, Thursday, right?
Well, no, tomorrow afternoon. We have an insurance meeting in the morning, that's why. But, and Wilson Place is also one of the streets we've applied for to approve through the county CPD.
All right, good.
And when you come out of Wilson Place and somebody's parked in the yellow, call the police. I ride around Belleville all day. I call them about handicap spots. I have fire hydrants.
I made copies of the cars. I even actually sent it to the police department. No one responded.
You gotta call them.
Okay, and here's the problem. When I'm leaving, or most of us leaving to go to work in the morning, I mean, to stop and call the police and whatnot, I'm not going to sit around and wait until the guy comes.
No, you don't wait. You just tell them.
But
if they get a ticket, they'll stop doing it. Cell phone. You have Bluetooth?
And as far as, and towards the end of March, street cleaning should be back. Cold weather zone, so.
all right, well, those are some of the issues. I don't know if any of my neighbors on the block have any comments, but thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it.
We got it. One behind you.
Hi, I'm a resident of Wilson Place. I've been there for a year, and it's horrible parking. Sometimes I come at work, you gotta wait like a whole hour to find parking, and I wanna know, like, other townships have permit parking for the residents there. If we can have permit parking for that block, it's a dead-end street, and it only should be the residents who live there at a certain time be able to park overnight. I don't know if you guys can do something about that.
We'll have traffic look at it.
They'll have the traffic go look at it.
Okay, thank you.
So, do you have something?
Yeah, Ruben Vega, I live at 48 Wilson Place, right at the end by the park. Specifically, you know, I come out and I walk my dog through the block, and I notice a lot of empty liquor bottles and cigar wrappers and things. So we're a convenient location for people to do illegal stuff. Unfortunately, because I'm right by the park, most of those people usually park in my driveway, and I thank the Belleville Police Department because they're always pretty quick, and they come out there and ring the sirens and all this stuff. And sometimes, you know, I have to park myself on the street because somebody's blocked there and I want to get their cards open. I think if there's a way to get a camera put at the entrance of the park, that would probably alleviate some of the physical presence that may be necessary for somebody there. Even the camera will kind of ward off some of these people from doing that stuff on the block. I have a young daughter, and you know, I'm concerned about any illegal activity on my block, you know, because I don't want anything to happen to her.
Jeff, I know you want to go there, so
I wanted to speak to what that gentleman just said, Georgianne Flake of New Jersey. Every year, representative from the police department, traditionally it has been Captain Meshi, they will have a meeting for Neighborhood Watch. Your best friend is a nosy neighbor. You cannot just leave it on the shoulders of the police. Very often there's a slogan, you see something, say something, you know. So the next time, and I'm offering a solution, I'm not trying to demean anyone, we need to get involved. The opportunities are out there. Even if you can't make the meetings, you know, if there's certain people in your building say, listen, I'm going out, I'm going to be away for the weekend or vacation, take a, you know, look out for my house, or if you see something. The police do respond. But if you're not going to work together, and if you're not going to try to help to police your own neighborhood, because that's where it starts. That's where it starts. There's something on the ground, you know, there are certain people that do pick stuff up. We have to maintain our own areas. And we have to work together. And instead of just complaining, anybody can curse the dark, light a candle, come up with solutions. Thank you.
Jeff?
Mayor, I'm sorry. To say that I'm disappointed would be an inaccuracy on a biblical scale. I'm sorry, this is wrong. And it's such a flawed pilot from one end to the other, including illegal provisions that were built into the developer's agreement. I'm sorry that even the financial agreement has so many flaws that it can't be ignored. This is a miscarriage of justice to Belleville. You've just voted for something unnecessarily that's going to burden us with so many problems that we're already facing, as you're hearing, parking, traffic, crowding in the schools, in the town, to be able to cover the fire. The chief did not speak to the fact whether or not our ladder can get anywhere near it. You're not getting up that narrow little easement in the middle of the block for the property that goes back up to the buildings. This is tax-paid property. I'm sorry, there's no reason to take it and gift it to a developer who's going to take us, the taxpayers, for a ride. This is wrong. There's no money for us to be made, just more burden and debt and challenges that we don't need to exacerbate. We're only 2.3 square miles when you take the county property out. You said 37,000 people at the last meeting, which is up 1,000 just in a meeting. I'm sorry, but we can't afford it. And the burden to those who are struggling is immense. And it suggests that you folks up there do not understand that. You're so detached from it now that you're going against the will. And I can assure you, the public's going to know about it in a wide scale. If we have to scrape together every dime and put out a newsprint paper to every resident in this town, they're going to know about it. And they're going to know exactly who is responsible for it. And at this point, I can suggest to you that it'll be probably almost imminent that this pilot is going to be faced with litigation. It cannot go through as it stands. It needs to turn around and go back from the beginning. There's too many aspects of it that were fatally flawed. This is an important document that's not allowed ambiguity. We're hoping that the state will take very close, careful notice. And I would hate to lose the ability for this town to be able to affect their own pilot programs without state oversight, but it's happened in the state. And maybe Belleville will have to be added to it. That you won't have that liberty. You've granted pilot programs to what was billed in the 2014 election, where I opposed you, Councilman, that this was senior housing. It's not senior housing. It doesn't do anything for Belleville seniors. However, when there was senior housing suggested some years ago on Washington Avenue, as we were just discussing, as now a potential pilot program for that, you opposed it, Mayor, as did Mr. Rovell.
It wasn't senior housing. There was never senior housing, Jeff. That was approved for 8 stories and 80 units. Come on.
No, it wasn't. It was senior housing, and here's the news article where the mayor approved.
You know what it was approved for. You can put whatever you want out there. It's just like 1,000.
But getting back to the point.
Give me a break.
Mr. Francintoni, thank you, I appreciate it. But getting back to the point, you opposed the pilot because it was going to cut the taxes that Belleville would have to make up.
Oh, yeah, I did.
And so, you, Councilman Rovell, you were the only other one that voted against it. And the great things that we did years ago at Essex Park.
Jeff, you just said it's passed.
What?
If there's only 2 of us that voted against it.
I didn't. All I know is that the news article said that you
There's only 2 of us voted against it.
I understand that, but you're voting for this one, both of you. And Essex Park, you roundly accused back then of exceeding 8 units per acre. You said it was too much.
Jeff, you can sit there and say...
Well, but why is this not? This is 5 times density, for no good reason.
I'll agree with Mr. Frantantoni. It's a neglected property. I'll agree that it needs to be renovated.
Well, maybe we
So,
should have Mr.
you know,
Lorenzo
what do you want me to say?
answer
This
for
is the
why
way we felt the best way to do it. and you know, you don't agree with us. And, you know,
I'm sorry.
to threaten us and to try to extort things from us, that, to me, doesn't make sense. And sit up here and
Extort? What's distortion? No, there's no distortion anywhere. These are hard facts. Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it.
Whatever you want to say.
I'm just simply saying, this is, you know, disappointment on a biblical level. This is just wrong.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
You chose.
Well, I listened to everybody else in the room. What about the senior citizens in this town? We are the forgotten ones. I don't think anybody cares how high our expenses are, what we have to pay. When I came into town, my property taxes were $400. They're now $8,000. I live with no pension. I manage, thank God, that I still have my home. For how long? I don't know. So I think we have to give thoughts to everyone. And if we're going to have council people that are going to be voting in by phone, I suggest anyone that wants to do that should resign from this council. You are voted in to listen to the people, not call in because you're afraid to show your face maybe to vote, or don't show up because you don't want to vote. I'm sorry, I wasn't going to say a word tonight, but just listening to all of this, I can't help it. I came from a big family. I'm first generation American. I voted for you on Facebook. You're right, okay? So, the seniors, like I said, we are forgotten. Also now, let me get this here, calling in. Oh, we did have Captain Meshi and Sergeant Gamaro did come to our senior building. He called me about coming in to speak to the seniors, and I'll tell you, they did really a nice job. They came early, they walked around, they talked to everyone. The seniors had questions for them, and they really, really welcomed them, and we're glad to see them. And yes, that's what we do need in this town. And we also had a service dog that our town clerk told me about, a lady that wanted to come in with her little service dog. And the seniors had a ball with this little service dog. It was really very nice for them. Now, I have a question though. When it comes to Section 8, if people are living in Section 8 and they have a certificate, are they allowed to take that certificate to go live elsewhere with that certificate on Section 8? I see Mr. Tucci nodding his head, yes. Mr. Tucci, the senior housing near us, is the 55 and up.
55 plus.
I would like to know how many Section 8 are in there. I understand the whole top floor is Section 8.
I do not know how many Section 8 folks are there. I do know.
I think we need a count
We can get a
on how many people from Belleville actually got into that building.
46% of the apartments are rented to Belleville people.
How many?
46%, so that's about what, 35 or 36.
Well, by the breakdown, I don't know how those people lived in town long enough to be the seniors of Belleville to live there. That's the reason why I'm questioning that. But again, and in the paper on Sunday, you probably all saw this from the Ledger, ways to cut New Jersey's property taxes. And it's a guide for our voted officials. And one of the things on it I did underline, healthcare costs. Positive change can be made. For starters, we could cut property taxes by about 8% simply by insisting that local employees get the same healthcare benefits that exist at the high end of private sector plans. That alone would save about $2.5 billion on $28 billion in annual property taxes. But what politicians want to risk the wrath of the unions? There's a lot more of wording like that in here. I suggest all of you dig up your Sunday papers and read it, because we do need help in this town when it comes to taxes. It's terrible when you have to open up everything you have, not just taxes, everything just going up, up, and up. We have a new ShopRite in town. Go down and watch how they raise the taxes. Not the taxes, the prices. All the time when you go down. And if something goes on sale, and if you're wise as a shopper, and you know the prices before that sale, you know they were raised just for that sale. So don't be fooled when you go down to the ShopRite and you see sale, you're saving 50 cents. No, they shot it up 50 cents before they put that tag on it. So we got a room full of people here, and I say I'm really happy to see the mixture, the diversity of this town here tonight. And this is what we need to take care of some of these problems. I hope to spend the rest of my life in Belleville. if you'll let me, without knocking me right out of my house with property taxes. Thank you.
With that, I live at 48 Wilson, along with my husband and my daughter. There was recently this week 2 sinkholes on our sidewalk. As I was walking the dog, you can look straight down and you see the water flowing down. I don't know if it's drinking water. I don't know if it's from our fire hydrants. It's a little concerning because I didn't get any notice in reference to safety, quality of water in the house, because I don't know what water system that is. I'm still clueless about it. It's a little nerve-wracking. I thought that stuff only happened in Florida. I'm surprised to see that in New Jersey.
I have a video of the actual sinkhole from the sidewalk. It's between the sidewalk and the curbs.
I think Mr. Pucci's going to take, we'll take.
Yeah, we'll check it.
Billy Gilbert, Billy, what are you telling me? They were addressed today, or?
They were there today.
They were there today?
To the water leaks today.
What is the water that was running under the system, under the ground, is that drinking water?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't know if our water's contaminated?
It's not contaminated, water leaks out, not in.
It's not contaminated, it's just a leak in the system, so they'll repair the leak and then they'll refill the sinkholes and restore the area.
Okay. Thank you. One other question. I live on the very end towards the park, and I see the fire hydrant sticking out of the ground considerable from the base. And I've never seen the fire hydrants tested, and I had a neighbor once told me that, very convincingly, that the fire hydrants are not even working, that there was no water in it. I don't know if it's true or not. I've never seen anybody come out and test the fire hydrants to see if it's working. I would love to know if they're indeed working. When was the last time it was tested? Because my house is right at that, in front of it. God forbid there's a fire, I want to make sure that we're safe.
Some hydrants are in fact there to fight fires. Other hydrants are what they're called blowout hydrants, all right, when they flush the system, all right, to clean out any tuberculation in the line. That occurs. I'm not sure what you have on Wilson Place, but Mr. Gilbert will have the water department there tomorrow to check that. And if you want, just give him your name and phone number or contact number, and he'll be happy to have someone call you and let you know what the status is.
Thank you. Who's that?
Mr. Gilbert, Bill Gilbert.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Make a motion, to close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion, move to consent agenda.
Second. I just want to pull nine.
Sales on phone.
Yeah, I want to do all four. Just make a comment.
Just nine.
Just 9?
Yeah. Quick call of order, consent agenda.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo? Longo? Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Mayor Kimball?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 9.
And make a motion to move 9. I just wanted to say something. Elizabeth was a great CERT member. She was also the president of her condo association, very much into serving the community, and she's truly missed. Second?
Second. Quick call of roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Sorry, can hang up now.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? It's for Elizabeth Brodus. Mayor Kimball?
Yes. You ready for new business, Kevin?
No.
John?
Yeah, just real quick for Florence, there's a senior health fair March 28th and 31st.
I'm sorry?
Senior health fair,
Yeah.
28th and 31st of March at the senior buildings. Free food and free health screenings for the seniors.
It's
So I know
okay.
you said we didn't do anything for the seniors.
Well, we have that so often with the healthcare coming in from the choir mosh. They're the only ones that really come and bring us anything.
Yeah, we organize
So,
it. That's
you
what's
know,
coming, yeah.
Not that we look for it. I'm not
Yeah,
looking for
you're
a pound
donating.
of cheese, believe me, I'm not.
Take a cart in the
I
middle.
could still afford to buy my
As the
own.
food goes, I know. I have something real quick for Matt. Matt, you're back there, right? We were reading in your, I guess it was January 26th. Basically, 302 homes in the township of New Jersey are in foreclosure according to multiple listings. Not 1,000, correct? Is that 302 you had? Is that what you've been able to uncover? It's in the article. Yeah, it's in your article. Thanks.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wait.